let's look at this question, reclaiming the future of Aral Sea. So we have matching information questions from 1 to 6, and then from 7 to 9 we have true false not given. 10 to 13 we have gap filling questions. So let's start with the passage. Like I usually do, I'll read the first paragraph, come to the questions and answer the ones I can answer. Read the second paragraph, come to the questions and answer the ones I can answer, and then go like that until I finish everything. So paragraph A, the Aral Sea gets almost all its water from the Amur and Sire rivers. Over millennium, the Amur's course has drifted away from the sea, causing it to shrink. But the lake always rebounded as the Amur shifted back again. Today, heavy irrigation for crops such as cotton and rice siphons off much of the two rivers, severely cutting flow into their deltas and thus into the sea. Evaporation vastly outpaces any rainfall, snow melt, or groundwater supply, reducing water volume and raising salinity. The Soviet Union hid the sea's demise for decades until 1985, when leader Mikhail Gorbachev revealed the great environmental and human tragedy. By the late 1980s, the sea's level had dropped so much that the water had separated into two distinct bodies, the small Aral north and the large Aral south. By 2007, the south had split into a deep water western basin, a shallow eastern basin, and a small isolated gulf. The large Aral's volume had dropped from 708 to only 75 cubic kilometers, and salinity has risen from 14 to 100 grams per liter. The 1991 dissolution of the Soviet Union divided the lake between newly formed Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, ending the Grand Soviet plan to channel in water from distant Siberian rivers and establishing competition for dwindling resources. So they're basically describing what has happened to that sea all up until 2007. That's what I'm saying in this paragraph A. Number 1, a mission impossible. The issue of impossible did not show up here. An extremely worrying trend for one main part. Okay. Did they talk about one main part? By 2007, the South Aral had split. It's the two parts that they talked about here. For one main part of the Aral Sea. Maybe number 2 might be matched to here. I'm not sure. Let me just pick A for now. I might change my mind. Number 3, an uncompleted project because of political reasons. Yes, so this is our answer. Can we use, the thing says we can use the letter more than once. Wow. Number 4, a promising recovery in the future. They didn't talk about future here. A strongly affected, populated, no. Disclosure of a big secret. The disclosure of a big secret. There's something about Mikhail Gorbachev here. The Soviet Union hid the sea's demise for decades until 1985, when leader Mikhail Gorbachev revealed. Is that the big secret? That means I've picked A 3 times now. I may change my mind for some of these answers, really. Number 7, in response to the increasingly growing number of the population. They didn't mention population in this paragraph. Number 10, the dash produced by the floodwaters, which were ceased because of the decrease in dash of the Aral Sea, are the main sources to keep the survival of the wetlands. The dash produced by the floodwaters. Did they mention floodwaters? Anything like floodwaters here? I don't think I can answer number 10 based on this. Let me go back. Let me go to paragraph B. So let's continue with the passage, paragraph B now. Desiccation of the Aral Sea has wrought severe consequences. Greatly reduced river flows ended the spring floods that sustained wetlands with fresh water and enriched settlements. Hold on. That number 10. The dash produced by the flood waters, which were ceased because of the decrease in dash of the Aral Sea. The dash produced by the flood waters greatly reduced river flows ended the spring floods that sustained the wetlands with fresh water and enriched the sediments. The river flows produced by the flood waters greatly reduced river flows ended the spring floods that sustained the wetlands. Hold on. The wetlands produced by the flood waters. Number 10. The wetlands produced. This number 10 is either going to be wetlands or fresh water. The wetlands produced by the floodwaters, which were seized because of the decrease in dash of the Aral Sea. Decrease in what of the Aral Sea? Are the main sources to keep the survival of the wetlands. I'm saying wetlands here again. No. Number 10 cannot be wetlands. Number 10 cannot be wetlands. Let me clean it off. I don't think it's going to be wetlands. Let me just finish up this paragraph D. Fish species in the lakes dropped from 32 to 6 because of rising salinity. Decrease, look at it, because of the decrease in dash of the Aral Sea. The decrease in what? River flows. This is number 11. Could it be river flows? River flows. River flows of the Aral Sea. Because of the decrease in the river flow, because of the decrease in river flows of the Aral Sea, are the main sources to keep the survival of the wetlands. The type of fishes living in it experience devastating tragedy out of the increase in salinity. That's it. Rising salinity. This number 12 is going to be salinity. Salinity. Okay, I'm saying some answers here now. And decrease in spots for feeding grounds. Decrease in spots for spawning and feeding. How many words can we write? No more than 3 words. So I can write spawning and feeding. I hope I'm right on that. With a good example of the extinction of a specific fish. Commercial fisheries which caught 40,000 metric tons of fish in 1960 were gone by the mid-1980s. The most common remaining lake occupant was the Black Sea flounder, a saltwater fish introduced in 1970, but by 2003 it had disappeared from the southern lake because salinity. Yeah, salinity is number 12. So this number 10 now. This number 10, the answer to number 10 is going to be somewhere here. Desiccation. Is it desiccation? The desiccation produced by the flood waters. I think it's going to be desiccation. The desiccation, the desiccation, D-E-S The desiccation. So I think I've answered 10 to 13. Um, the most common, okay, I finished. Okay, shipping on the Aral also ceased because the water receded many kilometers from the major ports of Aralsk to the north and Moniak to the south. Keeping increasingly long channels open to the cities became too costly. Groundwater levels dropped with falling lake levels, intensifying desertification. What can we match to this paragraph? B. I can't say anything to match paragraph. Mission Impossible, no. Worrying trend for one part. That thing says one part. This whole thing is like the entire sea. An uncompleted, no. Promising recovery. They didn't mention recovery here. I don't think there's anything we can match. Number 7. In response to the increasingly growing number in the population, not all nations near the Aral Sea consider plans which will enhance the severity of the problem the Aral Sea is faced. No. We can't answer number 7. Paragraph C now. The receding sea has exposed and dried 54,000 square kilometers of seabed, which is choked with salt and in some places laced with pesticides and other agricultural chemicals deposited by runoff from area farming. Strong windstorm blow salt, dust, and contaminant as far as 500 kilometers. Winds from the north and northeast drive the most severe storms, seriously impacting the Emu Delta to the south, the most densely settled and most economically and ecologically important area in the region. Winds from the north and northeast drive the most severe storms, seriously impacting the Emu Delta to the south, the most densely settled and most economically and ecologically important area in the region. Afrobome sodium bicarbonate, sodium chloride, and sodium sulfate kill or retard the growth of natural vegetation and crops. A cruel irony given that irrigating those crops starves the sea. Health experts say the local population suffers from high levels of respiratory illness, throat and esophageal cancer, digestive disorders caused by breathing and ingesting salt-laden air and water, liver and kidney ailments as well as eye problems are common. The loss of fish, where is that one about population? Number 5, a strongly affected populated district. That's number 5. Number 5 can be matched to paragraph C. Then that true false not given. No, I can't answer number 7 yet. Paragraph D now. Returning the entire Aral Sea to its 1960 state is unrealistic. That's an impossible mission. Number 1. The annual inflow from Saya and Amu rivers would have to be quadrupled from the recent average of 13 kilometer cubed. The only means would be to curtail irrigation, which accounts for 92% of water withdrawals. Yet, 4 of the 5 former Soviet republics in the Aral basin, Kazakhstan is the only exception, intend to expand irrigation mainly to feed growing populations. Switching to less water-intensive crops, such as replacing cotton with winter wheat, could help, but the 2 primary irrigation nations, Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, intend to keep cotton to earn foreign currency. The extensive irrigation canals will be greatly improved. Many are simply cut through sand and they allow enormous quantities of waters to seep away. Modernizing the entire system could save 12 kilometer cubed a year, but would cost $16 billion. The basin states do not have the money or the political will. Kazakhstan has nonetheless tried to partially restore the northern Aral. The northern Aral. Okay. Paragraph D. Sounds like mission impossible. Number 1. Let me match number 1 to paragraph D. Because that part that says unrealistic at the beginning. Then the true false not given. Number 8 says the willingness for Kazakhstan to take the restoration action to save the small Aral Sea is somehow not certain. The willingness for Kazakhstan to take the restoration action to save the small Aral Sea. The willingness is somehow uncertain. Kazakhstan, this last sentence is, Kazakhstan has nonetheless tried to restore the northern Aral. Okay, let me see number 7. In response to the increasingly growing number in the population, not all nations near the Aral Sea consider plans which will enhance the severity of the problems. Yes, this one is true. Kazakhstan fits into this. It says not all nations consider plans which will enhance the severity of the problem. Then this number 8. The willingness is somehow not certain. This number 8, I don't know. I'll pick not given for it for now. Paragraph E. We expect salinities in the small Aral to settle at 3 to 14 grams per liter, depending on location. At these levels, many more indigenous species should return, although the saltwater Kambala could disappear from most places. Further restoration is possible. For example, if irrigation improvements raised the average annual inflow from the Sire to 4.5 kilometer cubed, which is entirely feasible, the lake's level will stabilize at about 47 meters. This change would bring the shoreline to within 8 kilometers of Aralsk, the former major port city, close enough to allow recovery of an earlier channel that connected the city to the receding waters. The channel will give larger commercial fishing vessels access to the sea, and shipping would restart. Marshlands and fish population would improve even more because of further reduction in salinity. Outflow to the southern lakes will also increase, helping the restoration. Such a plan would require much longer and higher dike, as well as reconstruction of the gate facility, and it is not clear that Kazakhstan has the means or desire to pursue it. It's not clear that Kazakhstan has the means or desire to pursue it. So, this number 8 is going to be true. The country is, however, discussing more modest proposals to bring water close to Aralsk. Okay. The large Aralsk faces a difficult future. It continues to shrink rapidly. Oh, this number 4 sounds like paragraph E, because paragraph E sounds like some level of hope being presented, just that they now ended by saying that Kazakhstan does not have the whatever. So let me read paragraph F. The large Aral faces a difficult future. It continues to shrink rapidly. Only a long, narrow channel connects the shallow eastern basin and the deeper western basin, and this could close all together. Hold on. An extremely worrying trend for one main part. That's F. Number 2, I'll change my mind to F. For one main part, so that main part is the large Aral. If countries along the Amu make no changes, we estimate that the current rate of groundwater in and evaporation out an isolated eastern basin will stabilize at an area of 4,300 kilometers square, but it would average only 2.5 meters deep. Salinity would exceed 100 grams per liter, possibly reaching 200 grams per liter. The only creature that could live in it would be brine shrimp and bacteria. The western basin's fate depend on groundwater inflow, estimates for which are uncertain. Someone has noted numerous freshwater springs on the western cliffs. The most reliable calculations indicate that the basin will settle at... Okay, let me check. I have just one question left. The western basin seems to have a destined future, regardless of the influx of groundwater. The western basin. Where's western basin here? Paragraph E. Paragraph E, does it mention Western Basin? Large commercial outflow to the southern lakes. I can't see Western Basin here. Paragraph F. Eastern Basin. What of Western? Okay, I can see Western Basin here. Oh, Western Cliffs. Someone has noted numerous freshwater springs on the Western Cliffs. This number 9, I'm not sure. I'm going to pick not given for number 9. So, I think I've answered all the questions. I'm really not sure of many of my answers, to be honest. But let me submit and see what my score will be. I've spent 21 minutes on the exercise. Wow. I got 11/13. Interesting. Number 9 is false. And number 10 is freshwater sediment. Wow. I got all the matching information right. Alright, let's look at let's do some self-correction. This number 9 that they said is false. So I'm going to need to carefully look for let me first of all treat the number 10. They say number 10 is fresh water and sediment. That number 10, if you remember, you notice that number 10 took my time. So they said the answer is fresh water and sediment. The fresh water and sediments produced by the flood waters. Let me go and check that passage. Okay, look at it here. Enriched with fresh water and sediments. Sorry, with fresh water and enriched sediments. So let's see how that fits in. The fresh water and sediments produced by the flood waters. Okay, now I get. Desiccation is actually wrong. Look at it. Let me show you now. Look at desiccation. What is the meaning of desiccation? Desiccation is the removal of moisture. Can you see? Or removal of water from something. Okay, now look at it. Does this thing make sense to you in terms of vocabulary? The desiccation produced by flood waters. Flood means there's plenty water. How can plenty water cause the removal of water? So you see that desiccation is wrong. Looking at it again. So even without looking at the answer, we should be able to figure out that this desiccation is actually wrong. So, but if you remember, I actually spent a lot of time with this number 10. So the correct word is actually fresh water. So let's see how, and I actually read this part, but I wasn't able to pick the word. So the correct thing should be what? Fresh water and sediments produced. Where's flood waters here? Look at it. Greatly reduced river flows. Now look at this thing here. Greatly reduced river flows ended the spring floods that sustained wetlands with fresh water and enriched sediments. Okay, so the fresh water and sediments produced by flood waters. Look at this passage. Floods sustained wetlands with fresh water and, can you see that? In other words, floods provided fresh water and enriched sediments. Can you see that from the passage now? Okay? Floods, or let's say spring floods, is the same thing as flood waters. That's what they wrote in the question. Produced fresh water and what? Enriched sediments. Okay? In other words, the floods supplied the wetlands with what? fresh water, and enriched sediments. So that makes sense. This number 10 should actually be fresh water and enriched sediments. Now, the other one, that one that they say is false. The Western Basin seems to have a destined future. So I didn't see Western Basin per se. Let me look for it carefully now. So let me do something with my phone. I don't do this when I'm solving questions, but after solving I can do it. Just click the top right corner of your phone or something, navigate your browser and look for something that helps you to search. So I want to search for Western. I want to search the page for the word Western. I can see Western here. By 2007, the South had split into a deep Western basin. Okay, that's Western there. Which other Western is showing up in this passage? Another Western is here. The large Aral, only a long narrow channel connects the shallow Eastern Basin and the deeper Western Basin. And this could close all together. If countries along the Ammo make no changes, we estimate that at the current rates, okay, the Western Basin's fate depend on, now this is where our answer should be. The Western Basin's fate depend on groundwater inflow, estimates for which are uncertain. The Western Basin's fate depends on groundwater flows, groundwater inflow. Okay, so that statement says that the Western Basin seems to have a destined future. No. Okay. So based on this thing I'm highlighting now, the answer should actually be false. My eyes did not see this Western Basin. I think I read this part when I was solving it, but my eyes did not see it. So you see, these are things this is why this IELTS reading requires a great deal of attention. And that's why this exercise is good. I'm solving this thing so that you see that, okay, whenever you are practicing on your own, it's possible for your eyes to miss some words. And that's why sometimes you need to pay full attention and concentrate. Okay? Concentrate and, look out for those keywords. You see, Western Basin is showing up in the passage. They didn't change, they didn't paraphrase itself. Okay? So, and the more you practice this thing, the better you get. That's how this thing works. Okay? Thank you very much. See you at the next lesson.